Test, test.
I can hear you now.
Cool.
We can hear you too. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I call this August 20th, 2025 meeting of the Albuquerque-Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority to order. Member Sengel and Member Sanchez are excused, and Member Lewis is joining us online, and all other members are present. So, Councillor Lewis, can you hear us?
I sure can, thank you.
Perfect, perfect. So next, we will have a moment of silence, then the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll just do it simultaneously, so. So next, we're on approval of minutes. I make a motion to approve the June 18th, 2025 minutes. Is there a second?
Second?
There's a motion, a second by Vice Chair Baca. All those in favor say yes and raise your hand. Yes?
Yes.
Opposed,
Yes.
no. Motion passes. Next, we are on proclamations and awards. This is the quarterly employee recognition awards. If the employee is here to receive the award, please come forward when your name is called. So this is my favorite part of being on this board. So Mr. David Gutierrez, Jessica Rideout, Natalie Nunez, Paul Davidson, David and Paul will be receiving 8 hours each. Jessica and Natalie, $100 each. These individuals are recognized for their work in completing phase 1 of a 7-year effort to update a critical water authority database. Are any of you here? Well, congratulations to them. David Ritz, $100. Mr. Ritz and the fleet management section are recognized for efficiency of operations during a period of short staffing. Congratulations to him. Monica Anaya, $150. Miss Anaya is recognized for achieving cost savings of about $30,000 through her expertise in asset management. Thank you, Miss Anaya. Jessica Ortiz, Julia Garcia, Melissa Toya, Sarah Beta, Natalie Grice, Kendall Pike, Lisa Zamora, Temra, Joe, Victor, sorry, I just can't pronounce that last name. Anybody know? Schixnader? Okay. Susan Lander, Armando Romero, Myra Escobedo, Monique Nez, Elaine Rudolph. These individuals are honored for their teamwork in converting the Water Authority's payroll, timekeeping, and HR computer applications to the new UKG system. So congratulations. Armando, 9 hours, Susan, 8 hours, and all the rest receive $100 each. Next, Jude Gurule, Rodney Sena, and Gennaro Olivas will be receiving $100 each. These individuals are recognized for their response to a fire that started in the compost heap at the soil amendment facility in May. Are they here? No? Well, congratulations to them and thank you. Diego Sanchez Moya, $300. Mr. Sanchez Moya is recognized for his quick actions and innovative thinking in responding to a power outage that threatened to disable critical sewer collection equipment. He's not here, so congratulations, Mr. Moya. Then we have Anthony Gabaldon, Gilbert Zamora, Juan Sanchez, Robert Barlow, Oscar Zapata, Isaac Herrera Mendoza, Victor Martinez, Angelo Baca, Derek Baca, Pedro Benitez, Tristan Gutierrez, Henry Ortega, Victor Alvarez, Jacob Chavez, Randy Baca, Raymond Sanchez, Gaston Monge, Sean Ashteen, Robert Lucero, James Ruiz, Lawrence Romero, Angelo Martinez. They will all be receiving $100 each. These individuals are recognized for their decisive action and innovative problem solving in responding to sanitary sewer overflow on June 24th. So congratulations to all these individuals. They're already out spending their money. That's why they're not here. No? So next we have Marlon Luna, Nathan Ficaro, Alfred Baca, and Francisco Zamora. Each will be receiving $100 each. These individuals are recognized for taking on maintenance duties usually assigned to outside contractors at the Reclamation Plant's power cogeneration facility, saving the utility about $15,000. Yeah. Congratulations. Next, these individuals, Carlos Montoya, Andres Montoya, Brian Para Cordova, Adrian Anaya, Juan Ramos, Daniel Arredondo, Steve Gonzalez, Steven Cabrera, Edward Sena, and Patrick Baca. $100 each. These individuals are recognized for their hard work in relocating a fire hydrant whose operation was causing water outages to nearby customers. Thank you, gentlemen. We'll wait. Yes, that's incredible. And as you're doing that, I'll just say this is attributed to the good work and the good leadership that we have here at the Water Authority. You know, I was just in an audit meeting and just real proud of the work that's being done here at the authority. Thank you, and thank all of you. Next we have Mr. Stan Alred. Where is he? Why don't I see him? Are you going to come up to the podium? Stan is retiring after 22 years with the Water Authority. Stan has served as Chief Financial Officer and most recently as the Chief Operating Officer. Stan has made many significant contributions to the success of the Water Authority during his tenure. Please accept a small token of our appreciation for your service, and we wish you all the best. Stan the man.
Thank you very much. There's only one guy left since the beginning, and that would be Mr. Sanchez here. So, but it was a, I worked for the city of Albuquerque, and then the Water Authority got created. I've been with Mark ever since then. I couldn't ask for a better boss, and I loved working with you and the board as well. And it was a time well served, and I enjoyed every moment of it. So thank you.
Thank you, Stan. We really appreciate you and your service and really being here since the beginning, you and Mark building such an outstanding organization. So thank you, Stan. Next, we have the union negotiations, and this is Erica Jaramillo.
Good evening, board members. On June 18th, I advised the board that only the clerical union, Local 2962, had ratified their contract and obtained board approval. Given the July recess, the board authorized the executive director to approve any subsequent contracts that were ratified within the budget parameters. I'm pleased to announce that the blue-collar employees, Local 624, chose to re-vote and ratified their collective bargaining agreement without any changes from what was previously presented, and have already begun receiving their pay increases. Similarly, the M Series, Local 3022, also chose to re-vote and ratified their CBA without any changes to terms, and their pay increases are taking effect this current pay period. The board's delegation of authority ensured that the employees didn't have to wait until this August 20th meeting for board approval to receive their pay increases, which would have happened in September. The CBAs as presented provided a 4% wage increase in FY26, a 3% increase in FY27, and a 3% increase in FY28. They also included the addition of 2 holidays, Indigenous Peoples Day and Juneteenth, which aligns with other local government holiday schedules. The CBAs also included an additional tier of vacation for employees with 20+ years of service. So all final wage agreements for FY26 will fit within the overall budgetary limits as appropriated by the board, and any agreement on wages for FY27 and FY28 would be subject to budgetary appropriations for each respective fiscal year. So with that, I stand for any questions.
Are there any questions? No? Thank you for all your work, hard
Thank
work
you.
on that. I know it got a little contentious there for a second, but
Thank you.
Yeah, if we could pay everybody what they deserved, it would be a great day.
Yes.
Thank you. So, okay, so now we are on to public comment. Ms. Salas, do we have anyone signed up to speak? And if we do, you will have 3 minutes to speak with a warning at 2.5 minutes. And would you call on the first speaker?
We have 2 speakers this evening, Madam Chair. First is John Fleck.
Thank you much, Madam Chair, board members. My name is John Fleck. My current home is at the Etten Center at the School of Law, the University of New Mexico, and also in the Water Resources Program at UNM. Wanted to talk briefly about the Water 2120 update that you're going to get later. I'm a member of the Technical Advisory Committee, and we have been active in discussions both about the update itself, but also in some of the ongoing processes. Water 2120 is really not just something that gets done every 10 years, but it triggers a series of processes that are a sort of ongoing planning effort. And when John Stomp first, I was at the university at the time, first started working on a 100-year assured water supply plan for the city and long-range water resources strategy, I would talk to John and suggested to him that I thought trying to think what this community would be like in 100 years was absolutely crazy. Like, how can we think about 100 years from now? And then later on in the process, when John invited me to join the team to do some of the wordsmithing on the final document, I was delighted because I think it's the most interesting long-range water planning process that we have in this community. It's an incredibly important tool for thinking about the future of this community because we are so dependent on a scarce water supply. We've learned quite a bit in the 10 years, and we are already seeing the sort of the ongoing need to adapt. We're seeing a dry river this year for the first time at the scale we're seeing that we have seen in 40 or more years, depending on how you measure. With the dry river, it has affected our ability to divert San Juan Chama water. We're using more groundwater, so we're seeing a change in the recovery of the aquifer level, sort of flattening out. And so the ongoing process of Water 2120, we should not expect to write a plan once and then be done with it. It's an adaptive process. And with the work we're doing with the TCAC, we've had a chance to be briefed on it, both the 2120 update itself and also the broader set of work that is associated with this. And I think there's a couple of really important lessons that we've learned. One, we're really seeing much drier hydrology. We're on the dry side of the range of the possibilities. We're having a chance as a result to review how do we think about what our long-term goals are, our gallons per capita per day, the way we're measuring them now, the right way to do it, what are the other sort of goals we're thinking about, how does what we do planning for our water future connect with the broader use of water in this community, with the Middle Rio Grande Conservancy District, with the extensive network of domestic wells on the valley floor, which are also taking water from all these same sources. And Water 2120 is a chance for us to look at all those questions. And I'm just delighted as a member of the TCAC that 10 years later, after John asked me to help, I still get to help. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And online, we have Elaine Hebert.
Okay, and before you start, Elaine, she made a request prior to the meeting and asked if she can have some additional time, so we'll do 1 additional minute.
Thank you very much. And welcome back, everyone, to a dry river with dying fish. The irrigation season is a bust. The MRG is under-delivering under the compact. It's been hot and dry and is expected to continue to do so. In my written materials, which I request to be made a part of today's record, is a photo of the dry river. The MRG is operating under a huge compact debt, which seems to be increasing. As of today, Elephant Butte is 3.8% full. With less snowpack, Rio Grande flows are declining. When it was at this dry, 1971, 1964, 500 years ago? Or is this drought the new normal? A new study published in the journal Nature today or this week suggests that confronting it will require rethinking water management, agricultural policy, and adaptation strategies. And as John Fleck noted, perhaps we need to review some of those metrics that are being utilized. And I have suggested a number of recommendations in my materials, but the bottom line is that we need to consider that the mega drought is our new normal and upgrade our responses. Furthermore, we need to be a leader with others to reduce depletions, which would be my name for this iteration of the water plan. It comes out every 10 years, and my one would be the MRG working together with a focus on reducing depletions. The water update, OB 2515, continues the trend, I think, of reducing aspirations. When reviewing the 1997, 2007, and 2016 water plans, pumping was to decline as the San Juan Chama water came online. Pumping was to be reduced to roughly 11,000 acre-feet per year for many years. That's never happened. The current plan depends on those reductions in order to be successful. How realistic is it that pumping projections in Portfolio 1 of the plan will be achieved over an 8-year time span, a 100-year time span, when just in 8 years it's been 3 times what was projected? In other words, I think that we're going to have to change the focus that is in this idea of these management goals of 110 feet per below the surface to back to the 50 feet below pre-development. All of the graphs and all of the scenarios were based on that. And unless we go back to that, we will not be saving the amount of water that needs to be done. I've put in a number of suggestions again in my written materials, but bottom line, we have to reduce consumptive uses in order to reduce the idea of a lawsuit. Finally, on financial planning, the $60 million that was in the budget financial plan has now become $90 million. That seems to me to be the wrong direction because the debt ratio is already higher than most other utilities. And the backlog of unmet infrastructure needs has grown. For 2026, it appears that $1 billion for rehab projects exists, but only 846 million will be dedicated for the whole decade plan. It'll be a 16 million to 17 million a year for the next 3 years. What additional steps are being taken to address the rehab projects? I'll stop there. Of course, I could go on forever. Thank you, and if you have any questions.
Thank you.
And congratulations, Stan.
So that concludes,
Yes, that
Okay.
concludes public comment.
okay, thank you. So next we are on announcements and communication. Next scheduled meeting is September 17th, 2025 at 5 p.m. in the Vincent E. Grego Chambers. Followed by introduction of legislation. There are no introductions. Now we are on to the consent agenda. If everyone's had an opportunity to review the consent agenda, is there a motion for approval of the consent agenda?
So moved.
There's a motion and a
Second.
second for approval. All those in favor, raise your hand and say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion passes. Now we are on to approvals, and this is R 2524, authorizing the issuance and sale of Albuquerque-Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority Senior Lien Joint and Water System Improvements Revenue Bonds. This is Mr. Sam Gill and our bond counsel.
Madam Chair, board members, again, Sam Gill from the law firm of McCall, Parkhurst, and Horton, serving as the authority's bond counsel. The resolution tonight, again, second reading of a resolution authorizing the issuance of bonds and delegating authority to the executive director and the chief financial officer to negotiate the final terms of the bonds for sale and concluding that transaction. The key elements here with this resolution, the maximum amount of bonds to be issued is $180,885,000. A portion, about half of those bonds, will be used for the authority's improvement program for joint water and sewer improvements, and the about 90+ million will also be used to refinance some of the authority's outstanding debt, the Series 2015 bonds, for a debt service savings. So this resolution authorizes the authorized officers, again, the executive director and chief financial officer, to negotiate with the New Mexico Finance Authority, who we expect to purchase the bonds, enter into a bond purchase agreement for that transaction. Tentative pricing date is October 2nd, and a tentative closing date at this point in time would be October 14th. So with that, I will stand for questions. I will also note that the authority's municipal advisor, Eric Harrigan from RBC Capital Markets, is here, and he can speak as to any financial questions or any questions regarding the refinancing and the savings expected therefore.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Commissioner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I apologize, I wasn't here at the last meeting for this first reading this item. I guess my question is probably directed more to Director Sanchez, but could you comment briefly maybe on what Ms. Hebard was talking about? You know, she sent us a pretty extensive email about the debt ratios and all of that, and I'd just like to give you the opportunity to educate us, or educate me specifically.
Yeah, Madam Chair, Commissioner Olivas, I think Eric Harrigan might be the good source to comment on that.
Madam Chair and Commissioner Levis, Eric Harrigan with RBC Capital Markets. So the Water Utility Authority actually has, quite strong financial metrics. You pay off nearly 80% of your debt within the next 10 years. You don't see that a lot with utilities. The debt that is being issued, meets your debt policies. And the debt is also structured to take advantage of the steep decline that you have in your debt program. And then additionally, as Mr. Gill was mentioning, as part of this financing is also taking advantage of the current interest rate market, lowering the interest rate on existing bonds. We anticipate that the refunding will generate roughly about $3 million in net present value interest savings to the authority. I'm certainly happy to expound on that or answer any additional questions.
No, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Lewis, I think you had one additional question, and that was related to Ms. Hubbard's communication regarding our capital improvements financing, that we're not keeping pace, and that's correct. So we will have to think about rates in the future, I hate to say that, with regard to keeping pace with rehab and replacement needs.
Thank you. Normal questions. Thank you so much. Whoops, sorry. So with that, I'll motion approval for R2524. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion, a second by Commissioner Olivas. All those in favor say yes and raise your hand.
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. We are now on to R2525, authorizing the executive director to enter into agreement with the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation to sub-ballot storage space in the Abiquiu Reservoir. Ms. Agnew.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. In front of you is a request to authorize the Water Authority to re-enter an agreement with the Bureau of Reclamation. At the end of this October, our current agreement will expire. Reclamation uses this storage space to store their endangered species environmental flow water, and this is simply a continuation of an existing agreement. I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions? Seeing none, thank you so much. So with that, I motion approval of R2525. Is there a second? There's a second by Commissioner Baca. All those in favor, raise your hand and say yes. Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Now we are on to R2526, approving and authorizing a New Mexico Environment Department appropriation for the Windrock wastewater reuse system. And this is Ms. Ortiz.
Good evening, Madam Chair, respective board members. This resolution is an agreement with the New Mexico Environment Department. It's a reauthorization of funds that were already prioritized to the Water Authority through capital outlay, and the legislative session, last session, they reappropriated funds to extend the timeline. So this project's for the expansion of the reuse water system around Windrock and the surrounding areas. And the amount that's being reappropriated is $309,000. And I stand for questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Make a motion for approval.
There's a motion by Commissioner Olivas. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second by Commissioner Baca.
I did have a question.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just had a question about the implementation timeline of this. It's in my district, and I think I saw some purple pipe being put in around like Zuni and Pennsylvania area. Is that headed north? All right, Mr. Laughlin's.
Yeah, it's under construction right now. Yes.
Great, thank you.
This is just going to help get the project over the hump. Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So there was a motion, a second. Any other questions? None? All those in favor say yes and raise your hand. Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. We are now on to R 2527, approving and authorizing a New Mexico Environment Department appropriation for the Windrock wastewater reuse system. Ms. Ortiz?
It's the same response as the previous item.
Yes.
It's a reappropriation of funds and extending the deadline, and this amount is $1,262,000.
Thank you. I'll motion approval for R 2527.
Second?
There's a motion, a second. Any questions? None. With that, I just lost my train of thought. With that, all those in favor say yes and raise your hand. Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. So we are now on to R 2528, authorizing the Albuquerque-Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority to apply for funding from the Water Trust Board for Phase 9 of the Advanced Metering Infrastructure Project. And we have Mr. Warren. Welcome, Mr. Warren.
Welcome, Madam Chair and members of the board. This grant application for $3 million with the New Mexico Water Trust Board, along with $1 million matching fund from the Water Authority, will allow us to complete the AMI project. So this funding will go ahead and get 100% AMI throughout the county and city.
Thank you for the description. So I'll motion approval for R 2528. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second by Commissioner Baca. Are there any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say yes and raise your hand. Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. We are now on to R 2529, authorizing the Albuquerque-Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority to apply for funding to the Water Trust Board for expansion of the drinking water treatment plant large-scale recharge ASR project. Ms. Agnew.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. This is for the Water Authority to apply for grant funding through Water Trust Board for $18 million, which would fully cover the cost of construction to expand our existing recharge project at the drinking water plant. The expansion of the project will be adding 2 additional direct injection and recovery wells, increasing our ability to store San Juan Chalma water in the winter months and have it available locally to use to offset demand, customer demand. That project is currently in design. We'll have 100% design by the end of the calendar year. The project is already permitted with some modifications required to the state engineer permit for full operation, and will be, this funding would allow us to bring this project online in a couple of years. And I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you. So I motion approval of R 2529.
Second.
There's a motion and second by Commissioner Baca. Are there any questions? Seeing none, there's no questions tonight for the most part. All those in favor of R 2529, raise your hand and say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion passes. We are now on the final approval item, which is R 2530, fiscal year 2025 unaudited fourth quarter financial report, year ending June 30th, 2025. Ms. Lander. And I'm sorry, I'm only chuckle every time because when we're at council, like we call the person up and we wait for them to walk up. But when I'm done reading, you guys are there and ready. So
We're just eager to be
I'm
here.
like, whoa. So thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. I bring to you tonight a request for approval of resolution of our unaudited fiscal year FY25 financial report for the period ending June 30th, 2025. This resolution is a requirement by the state of New Mexico. We need to submit the fourth quarter report, the resolution to the state, and once they receive it, they will certify our FY26 approved budget. And it will also open up our funding for any congressional and state spending that's been approved. And basically the resolution is stating that our FY25 ending fund cash balances are also the same as the beginning fund balances for the budgeted year FY26. So I stand for any questions.
Thank you. So I will motion approval of R 2530.
Second.
There's a motion and second by Commissioner Baca. Are there any questions? No questions. You guys are on the roll. So, so with that, Please raise your hand for approval of R 2530. Yes?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Motion, no. Yeah, that motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So other business, and this is OB 2513, how to connect, David Morris.
Madam Chair, members of the board, my name's David Morris. I'm the Public Affairs Manager for the Water Authority. And referencing what Mr. Warren had to say, as we approach 100% rollout of advanced metering infrastructure, the vast majority of our customers now have access to technology that allows them to track their water usage in close to real time via the internet, instead of waiting to review a monthly bill. And this is beneficial in terms of quick leak detection and water savings related to that. The technology is accessible via software called Home Connect, which is available to customers who sign up for electronic billing. And we're gearing up to let customers know about this technology, and part of that is making available an instructional video showing them how to use it. We have produced said video, and I'm going to play it for you now for your edification. Uh-oh. Does your water meter have an antenna like this? If so, you can monitor your water use remotely in close to real time, and you can set up automated notifications via email should your water consumption exceed certain thresholds, say because of hidden leaks in plumbing or irrigation systems. Setting up email notifications for water usage takes only a few minutes. All you need is a computer with an internet connection, an email address, and your Water Authority account number. Now you're ready to go. Step 1. Navigate to the Water Authority's website at www.abcwua.org. Step 2. Click on the pull-down menu in the upper right-hand corner of the home page, the one labeled My Account. Step 3. Click on Create Account at the bottom of the sign-in form and enter the required information. Step 4. Once you've logged into the online portal, you'll need to enter your zip code and your account number. Then click on Add Account when your address appears under the account's header. Now you're ready to start monitoring your water consumption. First, you'll need to click on View Water Usage at the bottom of this page. A usage dashboard will appear. In the water usage section, you can toggle between various usage timeframes: monthly, daily, even hourly. You can see more details by expanding the water usage window on your dashboard. Now you can set up your account to automatically notify you if you use more water than usual in a given time period. Just click on Settings. A drop-down menu will appear. Now click on User Profile. A new field will appear. You can also enter your mobile number in your user profile to receive your notifications via text. Now, find the button at the bottom that says Add Notification and click on that as well. You can then choose between monthly, weekly, or daily usage thresholds. For example, you can ask to be notified if your usage in a month exceeds the previous month's usage by, say, 500 gallons. To do this, click on the monthly box, make sure the unit of measure is in gallons, and then enter the targeted threshold amount, in this case 500, in the target field. You'll need to hit the Save button to finalize things. You'll now see your saved parameters in the Threshold Notifications field. You can set thresholds for weekly and daily usage as well, following the same steps. If your threshold number is exceeded, you'll receive an email or a text alerting you to the possibility of a leak. No more waiting to check for usage spikes on your monthly water bill. If you have questions about how to set up your account on the online Home Connect portal, please call the Water Authority's Customer Service Division at 505-842-WATR or 9287. We'll be happy to walk you through it. I'm here with and Doug. We're live on YouTube. So I'm here with Henrietta Mendez, the Customer Service Manager. We'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you both for being here. Now we have a lot of questions, no, just joking. But that's really interesting. I mean, being we're just talking, just being oldies and not really utilizing technology very much. I'm like, I'm not sure I want to know all this information. But this is really valuable because when people do have water leaks, you know, you're just kind of waiting for an appointment or whatever. So this is in real time. So I think it's really, really cool. So I'll call my kids and say, check it out. Anyone else have any questions?
Yes, so you were saying you're nearing 100% completion of installing this technology?
I'm told that we're at 84% at
Okay.
this point. So we got 2 years to go. That's what some of that money's for that H was talking about.
I live in the village of Los Ranchos. Do you have any idea how much, what percentage completion in the village of Los Ranchos?
H?
Okay.
We can get you that information.
All right, I'm not yet connected, but I can wait. Just curious. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Benavides. Commissioner Baca, see, I told you we had questions.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it's great information and yeah, not being, you know, I mean, moderately tech savvy. I think I might be able to navigate it, but if you want somebody to test it out, that, you know, that I might be the one to do that. If I can do it, anybody can do it, basically. But just in terms of the, you know, the concept is great, and what is the plan to publicize this, promote it, and just get the word out that it's available?
Yes, sir. We're going to start off with a bill insert in the September billing cycle, and then we're going to follow that up with promotion via social media, and also we have outdoor and radio that we're going to use to promote it as well.
And just if I may, just as in terms of the customer service aspect of it, I think we've all had that experience of calling customer service for an organization, and how is that going to affect your staffing and needs? And I mean, you're obviously thinking that you don't know how many people are going to be calling, but I mean, just what's your thoughts about being prepared for people to call in and get an answer, their phone call answer within a reasonable amount of time?
I'll turn that over to Ms. Mendez.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. So currently our wait time right now is 10 to 12 seconds. And so our staff is trained to handle those type of calls and the influx, and we can adjust with scheduling and shifts. So we're ready for it.
Pretty impressive, 10 to 12. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Baca.
Yeah, just have you thought about going to the Albuquerque, Bernalillo County Water, I'm sorry, we are that, the library system? I mean, a lot of folks don't have the internet at their homes, but advertising it through all the myriad computers that we have at the libraries would be, did you know? You could check your water bill. So just a thought. That's a good point.
Absolutely, we'll take that under advisement.
That was a very good point. So I don't see any additional questions. Thank you for the presentation. Next, we are on OB 2514, Middle Rio Grande water cycle. Ms. Agnew.
Good evening again. Good to see you all, Madam Chair, members of the board. I'm here to talk about our beloved river, the Rio Grande. I know it's a topic that is front of mind for all of us as it's dry. We see the pictures. I know when I was flying in to Albuquerque with my kids in late July, it was striking to look out the window and see the ribbon of brown that is our river this year. So I'm going to spend some time talking about the Rio Grande water cycle to provide some context and depth. It is the second time the river has gone dry since the 1980s, the first time being in 2022, in which case we were saved by some monsoon system weather that came in and wetted the river almost immediately. We were just a couple of days. So this is a conceptual look at the water cycle. There are definitely layers in here that are not captured. We are not showing the people that rely on the river. We're not showing the ecosystem that relies on the river, and we're also not showing the aquifer that is connected to the river. But it is a concept to look at the different types, ways that water moves in and out of the Middle Rio Grande in a big scale. So starting from the top of the graphic, moving down, we have snow in the mountains. We also get rain in the mountains, and both of those precipitation events bring water into the Rio Grande system. But there's also ways that we lose water, such as sublimation. That's when we have wind that blows on the snowpack and melts the snow before it's time for spring runoff. We'll also see evaporation, both of the snowpack and precipitation events, as the atmosphere is dry. We do know that we have a dry heat, but that also means that we have increased loss of water to the atmosphere. And then the soil moisture is a really important factor in how much water ends up into the river and flowing. When there's low soil moisture, that does happen in the spring. When the snow starts to run off, it infiltrates into the soil rather than entering the river system. And then that also is a factor in how we see river water increase when there's a rain event. A really good example is yesterday. We saw rain in parts of Albuquerque. We didn't see flows come up in the river, and that's because of low soil moisture, both in the riverbed but in the soil that is on, from the mountains into the river. And then there are also many tributaries, such as the Jemez River. I do like to point out that our Swerp effluent is technically a tributary to the river that's currently keeping the river wetted from our effluent at just south of Rio Bravo down to the Isleta diversion, so it is keeping a connected reach of the river. And then there's stormwater runoff when we do have storms that can come in as a tributary, like at the North Diversion Channel, just above Alameda. But like pivoting, and I think this is a good, I did this side by side so you can see that those are the inputs, but then the bullets of demands in the river are pretty long. I count sublimation, evaporation, soil moisture, and evapotranspiration in here. These are the natural things. These happen in systems anywhere, but they do pull water out of the system. We have surface water diversions, agriculture, irrigation demand, as well as M&I, municipal, the water authority being one of them. We have groundwater pumping. Because our river is connected to our aquifer, groundwater pumping does mean that there's an impact to the river. And then also, even if you took away all the municipal and all the agricultural component, the river and the aquifer play back and forth. So we know that the river will send water into the aquifer. We're drinking Rio Grande water, ancient Rio Grande water, and it will also contribute water back into the river over time. And then another demand in the system are the Rio Grande compact deliveries. I'm gonna go back here because I was gifted an analogy for water and water management that I want to introduce here at the top. And I think it's a really good analogy. When I learned it, I was like, yes. And it was to think about water management as a Rubik's Cube. And we are trying to take that Rubik's Cube and make it work so that all the sides have the color, right? And I don't know how many, if you all have spent any time in a Rubik's Cube, it's not easy. And just as you think you have one side locked in, you look around on the other side and you're like, this doesn't work, So I like that analogy because there's a lot of things you have to move and click into place. And once you get one side working, another side may not be working, you keep going, you keep working on it. And also importantly, it is solvable. So it's not easy to solve, but there is a solution. And I do believe that's true for water management, and especially in times of drought. I'm going to take us through 2024. So what was last year? These are numbers we have quantified for the most part. This is a pie chart. And there's been versions of this pie chart over time. It's a challenging pie chart to pull together. I will just say that. There's some things that are very easy to put into the pie chart. The utility numbers, we know exactly what we diverted out of the river for 2024. Agriculture, surface water diversions, another one that we know because it's been metered and is reported and tracked. But then there's other things on here that are less easy to put onto the pie chart. Evaporation and evapotranspiration are one of those. Those are numbers that are estimated. They're not metered. We can't measure them on an annual basis, so we really have to quantify the best we can, and it's an area of science that's ongoing. And then there's several bullets on here that we don't quantify at all. We do not know, for example, how much snow is lost to sublimation. We just know it happens. We know that some of this snow runoff is lost to soil moisture. There are increasing tools for estimating this and forecasting it, but it's still not a number that we have locked in. Evaporation from the river certainly happens. That's not one that there's a way of quantifying. And then this last bullet on here is, in my opinion, a really important bullet. We know there's private domestic wells along the Middle Rio Grande, along the river system, that they're not regulated. And they are connected to the river system. When they are pumped, they also are impacting the river and the flows in the river. And this number is not currently quantified, though there are certainly a lot of efforts. Mr. Fleck is one of those that's looking at how can we quantify it? Is there a way of estimating it? And I think it's an important part of that cycle, water cycle, that we don't have on this pie chart, but that comes into play, especially in years when there's drying in the river. I want to go ahead and put some more context into that water authority slice. We divert surface water, but we are returning half of our surface water immediately at our SWRB outfall. So that tributary to the Rio Grande is also us immediately putting half of the water that we've diverted back into the river. This is looking at our use over time, and you can see, I know we've said this to you all many times. In fact, I think I stood here in April with the same graphic on the AOP talking about it. Our demand is mostly stable. Our GPCD is continuing to decrease, though it's fairly stable in the last 5 years. Our customer accounts continue to go up, and so this is highlighting that the Water Authority has policies and practices in place that are keeping our demand flat, even in times of very hot and dry years. And our groundwater pumping, I think 2020 and 2021 those were our high years. I think those are years, that's the first 2 years we had to shut down the surface water plant in the history of the plant's operation. We learned a lot those 2 years in terms of how to operate the plant and bring it online after having been off, and also how to manage our groundwater pumping and meeting customer demand. So you can see in the last 3 years, the pumping has been less than pre-2016 levels, so pre-Water 2120. And I don't have that graphic in here, but we are managing the groundwater pumping and the aquifer levels to see if our pumping is in balance with our goals for the groundwater management. So where did 2025 begin? Well, here is a chart that's generated by the National Resources Conservation Service and the USDA. This is our snowpack, or snow water equivalent for 2025. You can see that it tracks almost at the very bottom of that chart for the entire time. We do have a couple of snow events that spiked it, but it was a low snow year. I think one thing that is important to highlight here is you'll often hear us talk about snowpack relative to average or median. The way water managers look at that number, it's past 30 years. So when we say that a year is below or above or at median, we're talking about from 2025 to into the 1990s, which is a drier median than it was previously when the 1980s were in there, because the 80s were historically wet years. So we're already talking about shifting our datum, our measurement point, to a drier condition, and then saying that we're above a drier median is still pretty dry. So we overall are seeing a reduction in supply. And then I mentioned soil moisture as being pretty important, and we definitely saw that in winter 2025. Unfortunately, the earliest I can go back, or latest I can go back, is April, but even so, you can see in this chart that we have very low soil moisture throughout the headwaters and the Middle Rio Grande. That grayish color is showing that we have around less than 70% soil moisture. That means we have very thirsty soil. And in some areas, it gets down as low as like 2 to 5%. So that means that there is not a reservoir moisture in the ground that we need for water to run off into the river and flow in the river. It also affects how evaporation, that soil moisture reservoir keeps humidity up in the atmosphere, which means that the atmosphere doesn't have to take as much for evaporation. So it is a feedback loop that we are seeing play out in 2025. And then I think a really important thing to talk about is upstream storage. Upstream storage is an important part of water management in the Middle Rio Grande. Historically, I know in April, I talked about how 2018 is our analog year. So 2018 was a similar snowpack year. It was a similar forecast year. It had storage in Elvado. And this chart is showing the storage in 2018. You can see it's substantially higher. Then on the very bottom, the little tiny scratch is 2025 storage. So that storage in Elvado meant that that water could be released over time throughout the summer months to meet agricultural demand and keep the river wet. 2025 did not have that storage. That number, those little spikes that you see in 2025 are actually, that's San Juan Chama water from MRGCB in Elvado, and it was staged there waiting to be released to meet agricultural demand. It was not native system water, and that is a really important part of this. Why wasn't there Rio Grande system water? Well, critically, as I'll get into in the next slide, we can't store Rio Grande system water upstream because of the compact debt. As long as we are in compact debt, where Article 6 of the compact is in play, which does not allow storage in upstream reservoirs, and that means that we have fewer tools to use to manage river flows and keep things flowing. So the Rio Grande Compact is talked about a lot. It is definitely the focus of many of us in the Middle Rio Grande and the Rio Grande as a whole in the state of New Mexico. This is a shortage sharing agreement between Colorado, New Mexico, and Texas. It's an agreement to say, how are we going to make water work within the 3 states? And New Mexico is a downstream state from Colorado. So Colorado, they do a remarkable job of meeting their compact deliveries, but it does mean we're a downstream state. And the way the compact works is the delivery that is made to Elephant Butte is calculated as a function of flows at Ottawa. And so that's what these wedges are showing, is how much we're obligated to deliver based on how much flow is at Ottawa. And the state of New Mexico has accrued a debt of 124,000 acre feet as of the end of calendar year 2024. And there's a critical threshold of 200,000 acre feet. So we are approaching, as you've heard many times from our partners, you've heard it from our public comment, that we are approaching this kind of critical threshold. And there is quite a bit of there is a very serious need to make sure that we address that compact debit. But I also think that it's important for us to think about this in terms of how we may need to look for flexibility and plan for the future, because drought will certainly continue. As far as the Water Authority, how we play into this, well, our Rio Grande, our pumping is offset with our return flows from SWIRP. So at that 55 MGD that comes out every day reliably from the wastewater treatment plant is our offset to groundwater pumping. In addition to our conservation efforts to reduce our demand, make sure our customers are using less water over time, or how we can make sure that we're not just neutral, that we're actually contributing, we're sending water downstream. So when I say Ottawa, what does that look like? Well, here's an interesting chart. This is the stream gauge flows at Ottawa since the beginning of 2025. There's two peaks in here I want to draw your attention to. The first bit of water you see on the chart, so starting from the left, in January through just about the first week of February, there was a bunch of water that went downstream. This was actually 2024 compact water from New Mexico that was stuck in Abiquiu Reservoir as a result of that sediment plug on the Rio Chama. So it's like an artificial spike, and it doesn't actually factor into the delivery requirement, but it was some flow that we saw come through Ottawa, then came through Central, that made the system look unusually wet in January. And then the next thing to pull your attention to is this peak that happens in May. That's actually the spring runoff peak. That spring runoff peak is usually higher in intensity, meaning it would get to flows above 2,000 CFS and wider in duration. But this year we saw that runoff max at like 1,300 CFS, so about 1,000 less than we typically would see, and lasts for a couple of weeks. That meant that there was less water in the system. It was less water flowing down. The other thing to point out about Ottawa gauge is it's just, the stream gauge is just measuring water, but that water makeup changes over time. Earlier in the year, the flows past Ottawa are a combination of Rio Grande system water and San Juan Chama water that is being sent down for our diversions, and then also San Juan Chama water that's being sent down for MRGCD diversions. Now let's fast forward to the summer. That gauge is measuring Rio Grande system water, but these days it's actually showing Rio Grande native water flows, like base flows from the system, and Pryor and Paramount water. So it's not necessarily that water coming through Ottawa is natural Rio Grande flow. Some of it is accounted for certain use, which is what you see in the MRGCD chart here. This is the Angostura diversion. You can see that it tracks pretty closely to Ottawa these days, and that's largely because they're either diverting for their irrigators or they're diverting to deliver Pryor and Paramount water. I'm not 100% sure currently, but at least at the beginning of the week, we were in Pryor and Paramount operations, which means that the water you see in the ditches, the water that's being delivered by MRGCD, is for the 6 Middle Rio Grande pueblos, and that they are unable to deliver to their irrigators without a rain event. Central gauge, I'm overlaying 3 different curves on here, one of them being the central, which is critical for us. So our operation of our surface water plant depends on flows at central. I have the MRGCD Angostura gauge, so you can see that the trend of that diversion with the trends in the central gauge. And then at the very bottom are our diversions. So we are a really small diversion when we look at it in the bigger picture of what's happening with the flows at central and other diversions. And also to highlight on here that we turned off the plant in mid-June. And as soon we turned off our plant, and then like 4 days later, Central went below 200 CFS, and it has been declining and went to 0. So it's just to show that there are a lot of things happening in the river system that have led to Central being dry. And currently the river in Albuquerque has 8 miles of dry riverbed, drying up just below Montano. So let's go back to my conceptual diagram. How did 2025 shape up? Well, we've had a pretty disappointing monsoon. It's not quite a non-soon, but it's a barely there soon. We've seen some storms. Yesterday, I know I was walking to my car and I got soaked, and I was like, this is going to be the storm that's going to bring river flows, and it didn't. So that's what we're seeing, very localized rain events, which means that there's some local benefit. I'm sure that people looking for water for irrigation in the very narrow reach of the river were happy with it, but we weren't getting it on a large enough scale to see it come into the river. Snow runoff, as I know you know, was lower than we expected. If you saw that chart, so we were tracking near the bottom. Stormwater runoff, because we have low monsoon activity, means that's also low, and our tributaries are also low. What about the demands? Well, evaporation's up. We have low soil moisture, meaning it's taking more water out of the system, and we have increased evapotranspiration. So we have those demands coming up. Surface water diversions, I have them as neutral because I think they are what they can be for this year. I think everyone's trying to make the best with the water that's available. And groundwater pumping is up. It's no hidden fact that we are relying on groundwater to meet demand currently. But I also like to point out that there's the private domestic pumping. So some of the property along the Middle Rio Grande and the Albuquerque Reach, they have private domestic wells that they use for irrigating their yards. And if there isn't, out of necessity, if there's a farmer who's not getting irrigation water to irrigate, they can't just not have their livelihood, and they need to have the ability to continue to water their field. They will oftentimes flip to the groundwater pumping. So that is up across the Albuquerque Reach. And then a big question mark are the Rio Grande compact deliveries. We are in what they call a run-of-the-river system, so we are all riding what Mother Nature delivers and what we can make do with. So what about it? It can feel very hard, I think, to see the river dry. It can feel like we don't have a lot of power and there's not a lot happening to do anything about it. I'm just going to highlight some things that the Water Authority has in play that I think will make a big difference. One of them is the Bosque Water Reclamation Facility outfall. We are planning to build a brand new wastewater treatment facility on the west side. The long-term goal is to be able to use that to deliver reuse to turf irrigation on the west side, which we cannot currently do. But we will also have an outfall of that treated wastewater to the Rio Grande. So like I mentioned, the Rio Grande's currently dry up to just below Montano. This is located just south, like just below Montano Bridge. So it is feasible that this plant in operation with that outfall can allow us to have more connected reach of the river, which will benefit the ecosystem. Will also mean that we have fewer miles of dry riverbed that will be, like, dry riverbed is going to be thirsty for water. As soon as it gets water, it's going to absorb it. This will minimize that. We also, the wastewater outfall return flows to the river, offset groundwater pumping. It provides an ecosystem. The SWRP outfall, for example, is where Fish and Wildlife, when they do fish rescues, they bring the fish to the outfall because they know there's a reliable source of water. And it gives us an opportunity to preserve those fish in a habitat until the river connects again. There's other beneficial benefits to species. We have ongoing conservation, customer outreach. We are continuing to work to find ways to make our GPCD goal happen. And then we have Water 2120, which you'll hear more of next with Mark Kelly and Greg Gates. So we are always working with other partners to see if there's things that we're not doing, or there are things that we can be thinking about. Can we build on collaboration and partnerships? And then I'm going to end with asking you for questions, but I do need to give a shout out to my daughter. She knew I was struggling to make that conceptual graphic, and she was like, she could tell I was really frustrated, and she's like, I'll do it. So this is what she created. And then, so she did I think she did a phenomenal job from dinner table talk, to be honest. And then I also encourage you to take a look at this link here. This is made by this Interstate Stream Commission planning group, and it talks just big picture about snow in our river system. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Trustee Benavides.
Thank you for that excellent report, presentation, and you really did it at a nice level for the audience and the public to understand. But there were a couple of things that I didn't quite get.
Yep.
In regards to the gauges, you talked about the Ottawa gauge and the central gauge. Can you explain what that gauge looks like and where is it located?
Yeah, Madam Chair, Trustee Benavides, that's really a good question. So the Ottawa gauge is up in Espanola. It's located on the bridge. I'm blanking on the street name, but there's a bridge that crosses the Rio Grande, and is installed on that bridge in Espanola. And then the central gauge is also, we call it central because it's literally attached to the central bridge where it crosses the Rio Grande. And they look like big metal boxes. You'll see some antenna on them, and there's often a USGS logo, and they provide continuous measurements. In the case of the central gauge, that is actually maintained by the USGS under a collaborative agreement with the Water Authority, where we fund the maintenance of that gauge.
So there's I assume this gauge has a particular cross-section, and it measures the flow going past a particular cross-section?
It's like a, for lack of a better phrase, it's just like a probe that sits in a certain part of the river. So it doesn't capture the whole channel width. It's just like a point in time, and it measures the flow as it goes past that point. And the USGS tries their best to put it in the river that they think is going to be the most representative. So like in the middle of the channel, so that point is accurately measuring the flow, kind of the max flow.
Yeah, I could see some sort of calibration that goes with it, right?
Right.
With that reading versus somebody saying, okay, I can see how wide the river is and how quickly it's moving, and then say that reading equates to that kind of flow, right?
That's right. And
not 100% accurate, but a good job.
That's right, Madam Chair, Trustee Benavides. It is pretty accurate. You're completely right. It requires calibration. The USGS will go and take manual measurements of flow, and then they'll check the gauge to make sure it's reading relative to their manual flow measurement and make corrections. And that can happen as often as it's needed. There's a weekly coordination call where many of us will be like, hey, USGS, we need you to go to this gauge, and can you make sure it's measuring properly, especially at lower flows.
So a couple of quick things. In your presentation, in your pie chart, you have a pie chart for agriculture. Would that be a consumptive use then for the agriculture? Because, if you flood irrigate, a large fraction of that actually makes it into the aquifer, right?
Madam Chair, Trustee Benavides, some fraction of that does go to the aquifer. I don't have the number. I do know that's been estimated. It is essentially consumptive. There is some return of water that from the overflow, that from the flood irrigation will come back into the drains and make it back to the river outfalls. So it's not 100% consumptive, but certainly is significant. Yeah.
And then you're on the very next view graph. You have an interesting chart, and I think you're saying our GPCD, or what is that, gallons per consumer daily or something like that, right? It's leveled off. I think we would like to see it go down some more, but it's leveled off. And it's way down compared to where we were 30 years ago, for example, which is good. But the number of accounts keep going up, right? Do you see a ceiling for the number of accounts that we could handle?
Madam Chair, Trustee Benavides, I do not. I think Water 2120 and our update to Water 2120 has a growth mindset, so making sure that we can accommodate growth in Albuquerque and our service area. And that's really where the Water 2120 portfolio comes into play. We look at population growth, we look at demand growth, and how we need to make sure we have sufficient supply options to meet that demand. And I think that question may be answered pretty well with a presentation from Mark Kelly, but that we view Water 2120 as ensuring that we can make sure we have supply for our customers when they need it, even into the future.
And I think you started to talk about, or at least mentioned, that maybe we need to rethink how we use water for agriculture. And I've been thinking about that as well. I live in the village of Los Ranchos, and many people do have turnouts to their properties where they can do flood irrigation. It was a terrible year this year, right? We have the Agri-Nature Center, and we have we're irrigating 40 acres there, right, on Rio Grande Boulevard for farming activities, right? And of course, the availability of surface water was dismal. So we also have wells, and they're metered wells at the Agri-Nature Center. But over time, so this gets to your point about rethinking. So the nice thing about watering with wells is they typically use some drip tape or something like that, and it doesn't use. You don't put nearly as much water onto your crops as you would if you flood it, right? But there are a lot of minerals that go with that. And so the nice thing about flooding is it seems to push those minerals down. Yeah. And so if we talk about rethinking how we farm, if we have limited availability to surface water, maybe we drip, and then at least a couple times a season we get to flood. We might be able to deal with something like that if it comes to it, right? And I don't know if anybody studied the overall consumptive use of water if we did it like that, but I think people are thinking along those lines. If you only get water once a month, you're not going to be able to grow chili with that, right? So let me finish by saying I think what the reports that you do and Mark Kelly do are valuable to the community. But you speak for the Albuquerque-Bernalillo County Water Authority. So who would be your counterparts that's doing this sort of public relations at the state level, right? Is there anybody out there at the state level doing this?
Madam Chair, Trustee Benavides, I'll answer that, but I want to go back to your question about rethinking how we irrigate or do agriculture. It's like that Rubik's Cube again, and I think that I think it's like an opportunity for all of us to look, all the sectors to look at how we use water and where we work together to find different ways to do it to make that Rubik's Cube click in place. So there are people looking at the consumptive use. There are plenty of people looking at ways we can change how we irrigate and do agriculture, and there's some really interesting work coming out of the New Mexico State University to that effect. As far as the second question, I have counterparts at the state, and they are working to, one of the things that the director, Hannah Resley White, really is working towards is increasing the public outreach and messaging. Her goal is to have somebody at every meeting, like this board meeting, the MRGCD meeting, to be a resource to do these presentations and do this kind of communication. And so that is something that they're working towards. And the planning group that does the Water Security Planning Act implementation, they have definitely ramped up their outreach and are working on building an approach to working with local entities to bring those experts into the room. So it's happening eventually.
But you stepped up, and I appreciate that, and there's some municipalities that may like to hear your presentation.
Thank you so much.
No. Yeah, that's it.
Yes, yes, thank you also for that presentation. As I've tried, or people have tried to educate me about water over the last 7 or 8 months, and I appreciate the effort from staff, Mr. Sanchez, and the staff in this office, I think Chris and David, I think the name is, and people on this dais that have helped me in certainly these presentations. What I think about is, if somebody wanted to learn about it and wanted to understand it for whatever reason, scarcity, development, you know, if you're motivated enough, you can find it, right? I mean, it would take a couple half minutes maybe now with AI to learn about it if you're so motivated to just understand. But the average person in Albuquerque is probably not so motivated for lots of reasons. They have a job, they have family, they have things to do, they have, you know, baseball practice to get to. So what I always think about when it comes to these issues is education at a level and in a format that would likely actually get to people, be available, and in like a sort of a short, easy to read. I might even say Water for Dummies. I'm referring to myself in that regard, not anybody else. That could be online, of course. It could be in a pamphlet. It could be available just the basic. But I also think a lot about kids and children. If you're looking for a, you know, demographic that you would have most impact on in terms of just teaching them the basics, just enough to know and understand the issues and be concerned about it. I mean, I think there's an opportunity there to do outreach to you know, to our kids, to school children. So I'm just wondering, you know, if there are plans to do that in terms of, you know, the issues, the drought, the, you know, scarcity, measuring, all sorts of different things I've heard over the last few months, and if there is, you know, what are they?
Madam Chair, members of the board, I think that's a great comment. I know my daughter Olivia is doing her best, but she's one kid, I'm just kidding. We have a phenomenal education program, so I just want to give them a shout out that we have an education coordinator who, in addition to doing the 4th grade field trips to the Rio Grande, where he talks on all these topics, has built curriculum that teachers can download off of our website to take into their classroom. He's a former APS teacher, so he's plugged into the superintendent, he's plugged into the multiple schools where he's doing outreach to get this information to them. And also is continuing to work on finding ways to do field trips to this outreach. So there are plans for us to figure out on the student level, because you are right, they are a really wonderful way to educate and get this information out. And for the rest of it, those are things that I will take back and work with David on to find ways to make it more accessible. I know in my personal conversations people are eager to know, but as you said, there's so many demands in their time that they need it in a way where they can access it where they are. You know. So we'll take that back.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Appreciate it. So next we have OB 2515. This is the water report and water 2120 update. Mr. Mark Kelly and Greg Gates.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. We'll get right into our supply metrics snapshot. The drought severity and coverage index is at 360, which is higher than our threshold of 300. It's been at about 360 for the past month or two. In July, we were 100% on groundwater. Our groundwater pumping goal is currently at about 110% of where we thought it would be, which is below our thresholds of 120, 130, 140. And our GPCD is remaining pretty static at 126, which is below our goal as well. So when we look at our drought stage, we are still in drought advisory because our DSCI is over 300, but we haven't gone into stage 1 due to groundwater pumping or GPCD needs. We are working on an update to Water 2120, which is our water resources management strategy. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what Water 2120 is, what we've done so far on the update, and then Greg Gates, one of our consultants, is going to talk to you about some of the bigger picture items in terms of Water 2120 in a regional sense. So like Diane had on her presentation, you know, where we've been, we've had GPCD cut in half since the 1990s, but we've also seen that flatten out recently. Our number of counts has gone up, and we've also done a pretty good job of despite the counts going up, of our use and demand staying pretty flat year to year. We also show that we are, you know, now using not just groundwater, but surface water and reuse water. And Water 2120, you know, plans for change. It looks at supply and demand and looks at things in the rosiest of situations where there's a high supply and a low demand, but also the worst situations where there's high demand and low supply. Currently, these days, we're in kind of the bottom left-hand quadrant where we've had low demand, but also lower supplies lately. Water 2120 looks at climate change and supply availability. It does take into account a hotter, drier future for us. It does predict spring runoff happening earlier in the year. And, you know, all those things do impact our surface water supplies. Some of the key outcomes of Water 2120 is for us to utilize conservation as much as we can. We have a conservation goal of getting down to 110 GPCD by 2037. Another outcome is to set groundwater management levels, so we are using our aquifer appropriately. We also want to store in our aquifer as well as in Abiquiu Reservoir. And we also want to look at diversifying our sources of water from things like stormwater reuse and maybe even indirect potable reuse in the future. Water 2120 established 13 policies. Some of the highlights are to establish and maintain a groundwater reserve, update our conservation plan, enhance and protect our storage of San Juan Chama water in Abiquiu as well as native water, but also to protect valuable environmental and cultural resources. In terms of our groundwater management levels, Water 2120 set our working reserve, which is 50 to 250 feet of drawdown below pre-development levels, and then also has a safety reserve even deeper than that. And then, you know, below the safety reserve is when we get issues with subsidence, where if you pump out too much of the water, things start caving in, you get big sinkholes and whatnot. We set a management level of 110 feet, which is kind of our target, where we want to say if things start going towards that level, we should consider some alternate actions. We, in Water 2120, it called for an update every 10 years. We did pass Water 2120 in 2016, so we are working on the update for 2026 right now, and what's happened in the last 10 years and what progress we've made. In terms of things that have happened since 2016, you know, we had several implementation plans that were left to be done at a later date, and we've done them. We've got updates to the conservation plan. We've got our source water protection and the rivers and aquifers protection plan. We created an environmental plan, a reuse plan, and a groundwater management plan to manage those resources. And we also updated our drought management plan just a few years ago. In terms of surface water, where we've been in the last 10 years or so, you can see that we've had some lean years in 2020, 21, 22. And kind of looking into the past, years like that could have been helped out by carryover storage in Heron Reservoir, but these days there really isn't that much carryover storage. This year we're looking at 31,000 acre feet, which is going to be a likely all-time low for the San Juan Chama project. And we didn't benefit with any carryover storage this year. So surface water supplies have been less than 100% for most of the last 10 years. In terms of surface water flows, the flow at Central has been going down in the last, since 2016. It's only been at an average of 881 CFS, but if you look at an average going back to the 60s, it was about 1,100 CFS. And you know, so we've seen the average flows at Central going down in these last 10 years, which has impacted our ability to use our surface water treatment plant, because we have a requirement in our state engineer's permit that, you know, we can't use it whenever flows are below 122. In terms of where we've been in the last 10 years of groundwater, our groundwater diversions have increased slightly in those years when surface water has been down, which is to be expected, and we have been using our groundwater reserve, which we are currently right now, in times when we don't have surface water available. In terms of our groundwater levels, you know, the last 10 years we've seen what was an increase in the groundwater below our feet that has kind of tapered off. You know, starting around 2020, things stopped going in an upward direction, but have gone into a flat kind of a stasis, which indicates that, you know, things that are coming in are going out. Things aren't being depleted, but they're no longer rising. In terms of demand, our demand has stayed pretty steady in these last 10 years, and our population has as well. Our GPCD has done pretty good, and we are definitely below our targets, but we're going to have to work hard to get to our goal of 110 GPCD by 2037. So in terms of the update to Water 2120, which we're calling Water 2130, because we're going another 10 years, we have 8 tasks that have been identified in terms of what needs to be done on the update. We've done task 1, which is to look at where we've been since the last time we updated it. And we're going to be moving on into updating supply, updating demand, and completion of the other tasks. And with me today for the second part of the presentation is Greg Gates of Hazen. And he's one of our consultants. He worked on the original Water 2120 back in 2016 as well, and he's helping us with this update. He's going to provide some context of Water 2120 and how it compares regionally to other water plans and strategies that he's worked on. He's considered widely to be an expert in the field, and we're lucky that he lives right here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So with that, I'll hand it over to Greg.
Madam Chair, board members, I feel lucky to live in Albuquerque. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some other planning processes that have been going on around the country. I'm going to start with the Water Utility Climate Alliance, also known as WUCA. They're an organization that promotes planning under uncertainty. So looking at knowing that we can't predict the future explicitly, how do we plan and prepare for the future? So the utilities listed on this map are the members of WUCA. Includes a number of different utilities you probably recognize. They're large utilities, typically pretty forward-thinking in terms of their planning processes. We've been working with most of those utilities on planning, and then I've personally worked with Seattle, Portland, the Metropolitan Water District, Central Arizona Project, Denver Water, and New York City on their planning processes. And so the WUCA produces a number of documents and guides on promoting planning under uncertainty. So how do they think about it? They're looking at essentially, as in their name, it's the Water Utility Climate Alliance. They are really concerned about climate change and its impacts on utilities in the future. They want utilities to recognize that warming is here now and that we need to plan for it today and going forward in the future. They're also looking at how the vulnerabilities of your system. So in the case of the Water Authority, they might be looking at things like wildfire and how that impacts your system, or today's drought, right? So those types of things, how do you think about those things in the context of planning for the future, and what are the types of measures you might take going forward to make sure that you're prepared for those types of actions? One of the fundamental tenets of this that I'm going to get into a little bit more is really planning for multiple futures. We don't look at a single realization of the future and say, well, here's what's going to happen, so we're going to plan for this, and that's all we do. It really is an adaptive process. We look at multiple different hydrologies, so how could the river flows change over time under different climate scenarios? How might demands change over time? How might our conservation efforts be realized over time? What happens if we have large industrial users who want to come into town? How does that affect our planning efforts over time? And then looking at this capacity building and assessment. So it's how do we then look at and judge what's happening in the future and implement this plan in an adaptive way. So as we're moving forward, say 5 years from now, and we have a wildfire, how do we react to that wildfire, and what are the things that we put in place at that point in time? How do we adjust to changing demands at that point in time? What are the trends? What are the trends in climate? What are the trends in population? What are the trends in our demand? And so how do we actually think about what we would do in those circumstances and modify our actions, be adaptive in those circumstances? I recently was part of a WUCA workshop that they did for Seattle Public Utilities, who was just starting their long-range planning process. And we went through a number of different options around planning for uncertainty. I'm going to present a couple of slides from that and then go on to some examples from other utilities. So historically, a lot of planning was done in this deterministic fashion, where you would look at basically a supply, historical supply, historical demand, really kind of put those together and say, here's where our gaps are, this is what we plan for. What we know for certain is that if we say, here's what's going to happen in 10 years, we're going to be wrong, right? So we want to plan for multiple futures. And so that comes into a scenario planning process. In this case, when you're looking at, say, 100 years out, again, we're not trying to predict what's going to happen 100 years from now. As John Fleck said in his comments, we'd be crazy to do that on some level, but we're using that to frame what we do today. So we want to understand what the possibilities are, what a range of possibilities are so that when we're looking at things we do today, the actions that we take today, that we will be considering that range of possibilities so that we're not doing things that are going to limit us in the future. As you look at these different scenarios, part of that process is actually considering what those scenarios have in common. What are the actions that we would take in any of those circumstances? Would we continue to do conservation at a certain level? Would we build the Bosque water reuse plant in any of those scenarios? And then you can look to move those forward in your capital planning. Then you would also think about things that you might not do today because you may not need them, you're not sure, because you don't know exactly what's going to happen in the future. Those types of options you actually would hold for the future and look at potential triggers. So those triggers are things like, well, if our supply exceeds a certain amount, if our demand exceeds a certain amount, we may consider that, well, we need to move in a little bit different direction. And that comes back to the adaptive planning piece of it. Part of that whole process is doing regular updates like the one that's being done now on that 10-year basis. So it's adaptive planning in the sense that you're reconsidering what's happening annually, what those trends are, and then you're also re-upping these plans on a regular basis as you get new information. And working towards, say, in the case of climate, always using the best available scientific information that you have at your fingertips. The Water 2120 update will be looking to do an update to the climate data that was used in the original Water 2120 and use the best available science in that case as well. One of the things I want to point out is that the processes that WUCA promotes, that like this scenario planning process that I'm putting forward here, are the same processes that the water utility, the Water Authority has been using and used in the original Water 2120. So we're consistent with a lot of the state-of-the-art planning that's taking place across the country. So a couple of examples here of some scenario planning outcomes. So Denver Water, this is from their integrated resource plan that is about 10 years old. We're actually in the process of doing an update with them as well now too, but this is from their previous plan. But they look at these different futures. So future, where each of these have different components of how they would grow, what the density of the community is, how land use might change to some extent, and what their supplies might look like. And they plan for each of these, and then again, they look at those common elements. In their case, they were looking at different population growth scenarios, different climate scenarios. So they had a warmer climate as well as a hot climate, and then they had high and sort of moderate population growth. They also looked at essentially personal preference of the community in terms of how they wanted to live. So suburban preference was essentially maintaining kind of ranch-style homes and things like that over time versus new urban preference, which is more dense growth. And so those things could all be put together to come up with different scenarios that allowed Denver Water to then test those types of scenarios. We'll be doing some similar things with the Water Authority so we can test things that the Water Authority might be interested in looking at as well. So things like, well, what if we're not as successful as we'd like to be in achieving our conservation goals, or what if we have higher demand growth or lower demand growth than we anticipate? If you have a really low demand growth, that can also be a challenge in terms of how the community looks in the future. Similarly, we did work like that with Portland Water Bureau. They had their primary drivers they were looking at were low or high supply stress. So that was actually kind of a combination of their demand and supply. And then they looked at funding availability because that was really important to them. Part of that for them was that they wholesale supplied a lot of folks, and they knew they were going to lose some of those clients essentially and lose revenue from that. So they wanted to consider that in their futures. Again, these allow you to kind of test a lot of different possibilities in the future and plan for a real range of possibilities. And this is consistent with what the Water Authority is doing with their Water 2120 update. And with that, we'll stand for questions.
Are there any questions? Commissioner Baca.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have a question about who you have at the table as you're doing this 2130 plan, because I imagine you have many, many agencies. And the reason I'm asking this is the Bernalillo County is about to take a look at our water conservation plan and adopt that and those kind of, are you talking with I'm glad to see that you're looking at, you know, potential growth and preferred growth and, you know, all these land use scenarios. So that my question is, who all are you inviting to your planning process?
Madam Chair and Madam Vice Chair, the process has really been talking mostly to our Technical Customer Advisory Committee. We will be doing some outreach to the public a bit later in the planning process to garner public opinion on it. But in terms of currently right now, we're talking with the TCAC. We do also talk on a regular basis with our contemporaries, you know, regionally with other municipalities, but also MRGCD and the Interstate Stream Commission and the Office of the State Engineer. But I think to answer your main question, most of our feedback that we're soliciting right now is from the TCAC internally.
So your partner agencies, I mean, when you say you talk to them, that's different than being engaged in the planning process and all that you're learning and gleaning from these other, I don't remember the acronym, but the other cities across the state. What was that?
WUCA.
WUCA,
Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, I think that would be a really important thing to do, to bring those agencies actually to the planning process, even just for the sake of educating our other water management agencies, right, in the Middle Rio Grande Valley.
Madam Chair and Madam Vice Chair, I do think that, yeah, I think one of the things that is going to be a task as well is getting the word out about the Water 2130 happening, and I think it would be good to educate those other agencies. But we're trying to take our experience with them to be able to influence our planning process, but we also want to make sure that we're keeping our planning process for our ratepayers themselves too. So I think there's got to be a balance. That's what I'm trying to say.
So there doesn't seem to be any additional questions. Commissioner Olivas.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Not a question, just a comment back at the very beginning in the presentation. And I think I said this last time, just the disconnect between the drought and the map that you showed with all the red and, you know, all that we've been talking about tonight with the soil moisture and the low flows and no flows, I should say, and that we are at drought stage 0. And that doesn't compute on any level. And I think that we need to take a closer look at how we calculate that, because I don't think we're doing our job of educating the public on what's happening. Because like Commissioner Frank Baca said earlier, right, I think most people in our community are busy with their lives, right, trying to pay their bills, make ends meet, raise their families, and they're relying on us and other similar entities to try and give them the best advice and education on what's happening in places that they don't necessarily go every day, or data they don't necessarily see and understand, not because they couldn't understand it, but because, again, they're busy leading their lives, and you know, we've outsourced those responsibilities to our agency and others similar. So you know, I say this almost every time now, I think, but I just fundamentally at this point don't believe that drought map web thing works, because if we're not in a drought now, I don't know when we will be. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Did you want to respond to that? Or?
Yeah, Madam Chair and Commissioner Olivas, I think that we have a 100-year plan that looks at continuing aridification, and I feel like what that map is showing us month after month is the reality of that continuing aridification. And our drought responses are intended to be acute things that our customers can do on a less than a year basis to cut down on usage. And I feel like we have a plan for aridification, but we can't be telling our customers to cut down on uses when it's not really an acute issue. So I think, you know, we feel like, yes, it is getting hot, it is getting drier, and we have a plan for that in the next 100 years. But in terms of things that need to be done by our customers right now, we are not in a place, according to our drought plan, that drastic measures need to be taken by customers right now on an acute basis.
Thank you. Are you done? Okay. I don't see any other questions. Thanks. That's a lot of information. I really appreciate it. I know, just as everyone's talking about up here, you know, customers and people are really curious about what's happening in the river, and it's just really two distinct things, even though, you know, I see the river, and sometimes I look at it as that it's all kind of parceled out to other entities, and we have this kind of farce that we have all this water in the river when it's kind of parsed out. But we need to make sure that, you know, we all, you know, do whatever we do to hope for rain. And I can't remember the name of the young lady who used to always come and give us the drought report. What was her name, Mr. Sanchez?
Catherine Uhas.
Yes. And every time she would tell us we're in a dire state, this is very serious, but I'm jokingly now, it would rain afterwards, right? So I'm like, where is she? But no, but I really appreciate it. And it's, you know, again, this goes back to the employees and all the work that you guys do here to make sure that we do have, you know, we do have the water that we do have. Going from, what was it? I don't know, 200 a gallon per person per day. I don't know what the number was, to what we're at today. I mean, that's a really, you know, sustainable goal for the future. And just going to end with saying good work, and thank you guys. Appreciate you. So, and with that, seeing no other business, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.